So I guess, can you explain before we dive into this, what is the offline co-op?
Oh, sorry. I'm like getting ahead of myself because my head is still relatively on fire from last episode. I'm smoldering at this point. So offline co-op, because originally in Tarkov, the only way you could play with friends was you had to go into a live raid.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kayura and Mal Podcast, where my fiance is trying to turn me into a gamer. For those new here, I'm Kayura, the newbie to the gaming multiverse.
And I am Mal'Ganis, the overseasoned, overcooked veteran. We've been grinding in War Thunder. We've been grinding in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. I'm almost level 40.
You have.
Almost level 40. I'm halfway to 38 right now. I'm almost done. We've had a lot going on. Played a little bit of Helldivers. It's really good. The community's really good. And the game is really good. It has a really solid loop to it that I'm a big fan of. And then some Tarkov drama continues to deepen with more microtransactions, from what I understand.
So yeah, I noticed in our show notes that I was looking over, I was like, what exactly are they charging for, and like, why?
We'll get into it here in a second. And then the Helldivers 2 cultural impact is looking to be rather significant, which is pretty awesome. But before we jump in to the meat of today's episode, if you guys are enjoying the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment about your favorite games that you would like us to try, and we'll definitely try and give them a shot. So, from what I understand, and this is, we're kind of coming off the heels of the Podcast. Go check those guys out, Jesse Veritas. BSG is charging $11.99 for offline co-op. I have never used the offline co-op feature because I have the Edge of Darkness edition. So that means everything that BSG puts out for Tarkov, I will get for free. And I don't know how I feel about charging for a feature that's already in the game. So it's like, pay us $12 so we'll unlock an option for you, which isn't really core to the gameplay loops. So I don't know if that's justification for it being okay to charge for that, but it's already in the game. Like, it was implemented, because their excuse on the front end was, well, we're only going to provide it to EOD people because we want to control the server population so that it's not dragging on the server so heavily.
So I guess, can you explain before we dive into this, what is the offline co-op?
Oh, sorry. I'm like getting ahead of myself because my head is still relatively on fire from last episode. I'm smoldering at this point. So offline co-op, because originally in Tarkov, the only way you could play with friends was you had to go into a live raid. So that was tough for content creators who wanted to do machinimas or skits, or if they wanted to test specific variables for like ballistics and armor and stuff like that. If they wanted to test those things, it had to be done in a live raid. So you run the risk of having scavs kill you or get in the way of test or whatever you're filming. Other PMCs who don't know what you're doing being like, oh, there's other PMCs. I'm going to go kill them. I'm going to go fight them. So it's kind of, having offline co-op was a great creator tool for the Tarkov creator community to do the things that they wanted to do. But it feels now like, not that, and I'm sure this is just me pontificating pontiferously. This feels like a Tarkov content creator tax for creators that didn't purchase the EOD edition when it was out. So if there's more content creators that come further along the line in Tarkov's life cycle, you can't purchase EOD anymore. They're going to have to purchase this on top of what they've already purchased. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does.
So that's kind of frustrating. And I understand that, like, BSG's position, because like if you bought the $150 EOD edition, you never have to pay anything to BSG again that they put out for Tarkov. You can just play forever, and it's very unique. I think that's a very unique situation for newer generation gamers, especially to me they're kids, but most of them are probably adults now. Is it used to be you bought a game, you played it forever. There was no live service.
Well, and I guess let me ask you this question. Like, is that still an option to buy it? Or is like, people that were, 5 years old when when you were allowed to buy it, like, how is it fair to them that they're not given the chance?
Right. So EOD is no longer available. You can't buy it anymore. You can buy the components of EOD after the fact now, like the extra stash lines, this, offline co-op mode. You can buy those things after the fact, but it's just kind of, it gives me very icky vibes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because like what I'm getting is like, yeah, you can buy them, but like it looks like they're moving to like to buy them, you have to keep paying for them every month.
So I'm not sure about the stash lines. And I'm not sure about the offline co-op. You wouldn't have to pay for that every month. It's not a subscription model.
Okay.
It's a one-time transaction that sticks to your account in perpetuity.
Well, then I could get that because also you could make the argument that it is making gaming like more accessible to people who, well, if it's really only something that streamers need, well, one, they can write it off as a business expense. And two, it's like if people couldn't afford the full package, like, well, I don't need this, so why pay the extra $12?
Yeah, I can understand that. It's just one of those things of like, in the past, they have gone on record and said there will be no microtransactions in Escape from Tarkov, and now here we are having microtransactions implemented. And it sounds like there's going to be more down the road with purchasable outfits and things like that, which is none of this stuff directly affects the gameplay of Tarkov so far as we can tell right now. But it's one of those things, and I know some people hate to hear this, is, slippery slope, the door's open, but this is literally how it happens. We fell for the horse armor back in 2006, 2007, and we opened the door, and now we're paying the price for it. Does that make sense?
Yes. I hate to do this, but I think you're triggering my mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I will turn further this way.
Sorry.
Let me come forward a little bit.
Still figuring out some of that. I keep moving it away, hoping you'll stop.
A lot of it's not necessarily the distance from me, it's the direction it's facing. So if you kind of turn it away, because I have mine turned away from you. Like, no, other direction. There you go. Yeah, kind of that way. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay.
Right, cool.
We'll see if this makes it better. Hopefully we haven't screwed up the audio too much.
Yeah, hopefully not. But yeah, so it's just frustrating overall that they're implementing it. And like I said with the horse armor, like, should the horse armor have been what? I forgot what it was, because you had to buy, I forgot what they were called, Microsoft points or something like that, or Xbox Live points. You had to buy a card at GameStop. It gave you so many points, and then you could buy it. So it came out to like $8.99 or $9.99. And all of us dumb 11, 12, 13-year-olds were like, we need it, because we'd bought Shivering Isles and all that. But like Shivering Isles was, I think it was only like $20, $20 or $30. But you got a whole nother game added to your game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're like, oh, well, we can just like make 2 character models and they'll pay half that, for what we put into Shivering Isles. It's like I get it from a business standpoint, but it's also like there's only so much the player base can put up with. Does that make sense? Before they're just like, no.
Yeah, no, I get that. And like I said, there's some parts of it that like, it doesn't seem right that like some people had access to it and the option to buy it. Because even like I'm thinking about like Xbox games.
Okay.
I'll use like Xbox, like Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Like people could still like go and buy that game today that was released 10 years ago.
Right.
Um, obviously the prices change and you can't get it for the same price, but like it's still an option that you could find it somewhere.
Yep.
So the fact that they just kind of keep changing things, I will say, at least on the plus side, is that because I was reading through this and I was just like, this is a monthly subscription that like people are gonna have to get. At least it's like a one-time purchase, so it gives people some options on how much they want to put into the game, what features they want to use versus don't want to use.
Yeah.
So I do see like some positives to it, but also I try to be more optimistic. So
Yeah. No, I get that. And like, I'm frustrated because I'm like, how much more money do you need to finish a game that's kind of already done?
I think partially
Like,
as I'm wondering is if they're going to be adding to it and continue to add like different challenges or something along those lines to keep players engaged and interested in it.
yeah, I could see that. It's just one of those things of like, had a lot of hope for it. You know what I mean? That like it wasn't going to become a microtransaction hell that a lot of other games like. Take my favorite space game that I am completely coped out on from Cloud Imperium Games, Star Citizen, or some of its detractors call it Scam Citizen. But I mean, really, they've pioneered a lot of technology in the gaming space, and funnily enough, in my opinion, a lot of Star Citizen is more complete of a game than a game like Skull and Bones, which has been hailed as one of the as a quadruple A studio game. But it's like you can only play with I think max 3 people on the server at once, and you can't even get off your pirate ship. You can just sail around. It's like it's to me it's just like a benchmark for a graphics card. That's all it is. It's a benchmark simulator. I'm like, why would somebody pay $70 for this? You know what I mean?
It's hard because I really don't know what it is, so it's hard for me to really comment on.
Like, I'm trying to think of something from the fast fashion land.
I mean, should we go ahead and like jump to that
Yeah, we
conversation
can
to
go ahead and like interlock those together.
um because for me it's like I really don't like I don't know what Skull and Bones is. You say you're just like the way you talk about it is like you're just like driving a ship around.
Yeah, well, that's literally all it is. Is you drive a ship around. You can fight other ships. It's set in a pirate theme, like Pirates of the Caribbean, but you can't get off the ship. You can't dock at a port. Like from what I understand from the clips I've seen of it, it's like half of a game. You know, and we had this in when did Assassin's Creed Black Flag come out? We had ship combat, and you could get off the ship over 10 years ago. Why are we losing? You know what I mean? It seems like super low effort in terms of gameplay and game design.
So, and this is where we'll tie it into fast fashion of with if you look at like the younger generations, and I'm gonna group us millennials are included with this, is it's not about the effort or the quality anymore. It's about keeping them engaged.
Mm,
And we don't have the attention spans that people used to have, or like at least they're not as trained to be at the point that they were.
right.
And so it's like it doesn't matter that the game isn't as good as the fact it's a new game. People can play it for a little bit and then they're going to move on to the next game that comes out.
Mm.
Is I really do think that they're treating video games like the fashion industry, like clothes in the fast fashion industry. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. They're designed to be worn like 2 or 3 times, and you literally throw them away. You don't donate them, you don't resell them, you throw them away after you've worn it 2 or 3 times.
Like, how is that sustainable?
It's not. And I will say I'm not an expert in this. I have done my research through YouTube because I love fashion. Absolutely love shopping and clothes. I will not hide that. But I did have a bit of a wake-up call probably about 2 years ago, is if you do research on stores like Forever 21, H&M, and there's all these documentaries, even worse is like Shein, is they pay their staff such little wages, make them work brutal hours, and then everything is made of polyester.
Which that's a cheap to manufacture fabric, right?
It is cheap to manufacture, but also on top of that, it is plastic.
Mm.
We are literally like, and I'm obviously not everyone. Some people do hold their clothing shopping to a higher standard, but we're walking around wearing plastic all day for the most part. And with that, like the way it's made, it doesn't hold up
Right.
as far as a garment.
Well, it's not as comfortable to wear either.
Well, and it depends. There is a place for polyesters. It's actually been proven that like polyester gym clothing is a lot better because one, it's stretchier, allowing you to move. It doesn't absorb the moisture.
Right.
So it helps sweat actually kind of like roll off of you instead of like your shirt getting like drenched and getting heavy on you. So there is place for it in our lives. But with that, like particularly like polyester sweaters, you get really hot wearing them. And so a lot of people actually like they'll buy them and wear them one time and realize they're super uncomfortable and they'll donate it. Versus like materials like wool actually help you regulate your body temperature.
Right.
And so people are a lot more comfortable wearing them. Now for me, it's like wool can be irritating, but I can layer like a cotton shirt underneath it.
Right.
But the other downside is even though polyester fibers don't hold together well, just like all the other plastic, they don't deteriorate.
So like if they're thrown in a landfill, it won't be...
It'll be there as long as the plastic bottle's there. Yeah. And that's where it's like, it's becoming a big problem on that front. But the thing is, it's a lot cheaper. It's
cheaper to manufacture the polyester, cheaper to assemble the product.
So it is faster to get the material because we can produce it. Versus like wool, we are waiting for a sheep's fur to grow. So it's like you're having to sit and wait. Or if it's a cotton shirt, you are waiting for the cotton to grow from the ground.
Well, like my thing is cotton and wool is more sustainable because it builds a quality product that doesn't need to be replaced as often. But then again, you look at the way fast fashion trends shift like game trends do. It's like what did you were telling me last night is what every 2 weeks is a new season?
So yes, and I actually to say this, but I work at a retail store with clothing, and I'm not exaggerating when I say, and it kind of varies by the time of year. So they'll kind of they know what the slow seasons are. So slow seasons, they might actually hold the collection for 3 weeks, but you can expect a new season every 2 to 3 weeks to be coming out.
See, this is like, we usually say flavor of the month, but I mean, the gaming industry is getting pretty close where it's like, prime example, every year there's a new Call of Duty that invalidates the last Call of Duty. And it's like you have to pay $70 for the new Call of Duty, and it's just miserable. It's miserable. They ram out a product in 12 months, and it's horrible. And the quality has just degraded over and over and over again. And the industry business practices of how they surge manpower to create these is also horrendous by itself. So it's like, I see there is a trend in pattern of behavior here.
Oh yeah. And no, I definitely like, it's the same thing with the fast fashion industry, and like Shein is like the worst for this. Like they have researchers that they pay a boatload of money to predict what the next trend is going to be. And I'm talking from identifying, going through and producing it. They have it on their website within like a week. And then you have other stores trying to keep up with that.
And like, don't get me wrong, like it is a logistical miracle and marvel that they're capable of doing that. But it's also like
at what sacrifice?
Yeah, what is the sacrifice of that?
And then if you look at it, it's like, and I'm going to go a little in depth, and I know I do not follow everything that is about to come out of my mouth. So
rarely do humans do that.
And I say this there are regulars at the retail store that I work at. There are people that I see come in every single Friday night, and they will buy something every single Friday.
That's just insane to me. I can't remember the last clothing product I bought, other than the suits for the wedding. Like other than that, but I'll have that suit. They'll bury me in that suit.
Yeah, and you didn't have a suit, and you kind of need some more clothes. Let's be honest.
Don't make fun of my wardrobe.
I kind of envy your wardrobe sometimes at how simplistic it is. I'm about to be an oxymoron here.
He's calling me simple.
So, but when you look at how much, it's like, how much clothing do people actually need? We could make the argument that people need like 8 shirts, 8 pairs of pants, 8 pairs of underwear. Like we could make that argument of like one for each day of the week, and then like one for like a laundry day or something. And then maybe like a little bit of like buffer here and there, because obviously we have different seasons. So it might be that people need like 8 sweaters and then like 8 tank tops for the summer. But if you go into like the average American home and look at their closets, really they could probably go a month without even before they had to absolutely do laundry.
Yeah, I get that.
And do I think I don't see anything wrong with having stuff that you don't necessarily need if it's something you will wear and appreciate. But like with fast fashion, it's getting into the point that people, like I said, they wear it twice. And they literally throw it away because it's not even, they spent like $5 on a shirt, wore it twice, and now it's not even worth the gas money to take it to Goodwill or another retail store, or it's just fallen apart.
It's just completely roasted.
And it's all because they wanted something different. They were tired of the clothes in their closet, even though they absolutely loved the clothes when they bought them.
See, I don't purchase clothes that way, and I try really hard to not purchase games that way. Of like there's, I mean, granted, I'm still playing a game from 2004, and I'm playing a version of the 2004 version right now. But there's other games. I mean, God, when did Tarkov come out? 2016. I put almost 3,000 hours in Tarkov. Conan Exiles, I didn't start playing that until 2 or 3 years after release, and I still play it sometimes. I played it for hundreds of hours with my friends. So I don't like being trendy. I mean, how long have I had the same black puffer jacket?
Oh, I know.
I mean, it probably needs to be replaced. There's not a gaping hole in it yet, so there's no need to replace it,
And I would say that's where, I'm going to speak in very general terms, where I say that like video games is to men as fast fashion is to females. And I do think that there are females who fall into the video game trap, and there are males that fall into the fast fashion trap. So don't get me wrong there. It definitely goes both ways. But I think if you kind of look on at the majority, I do feel like, and I'm guilty of this, I fall for the fast fashion. I struggled to work at my retail job because I now have a closet full of stuff. And then I go in and I'm just like, oh, but that's a pretty top. Oh, that's my
Mm.
color. Oh, I should buy that. And I get a really good discount so I can buy it really cheap.
One thing that drove me insane, and I kind of had to put my foot down. This is when I was younger. Now all of my friends make money, so they just bully me into playing the game by buying me the game, and then they're like, "I bought you the game. You got to play it with me now." And don't get me wrong, I've done it to people as well. Um, but it was like, dude, you got to get this game. You got to get this map pack DLC expansion for Halo so you can come play with us. And you're like, you know what I mean?
Oh, and that is something too. Like I've gotten where I don't like shopping with other people because it is a peer pressure thing.
They hype you. They think they're hyping you up or making you feel better about yourself. Is that kind of the gist?
Yeah. And it's like, oh, it's cute. And whereas I want someone to go, like, you don't need it, they're just
Mm.
like, oh, but it's your color. Oh, you look so good in that. Oh, you could wear it to this event.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, I could wear this dress to this event, but how many other dresses do I already have at home that I could
That
wear?
kind of fit that bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get. I can't. I mean, I could pull my Steam library now. I can't tell you how many, RPG survival games or first person shooter games that I have. You know what I mean? Because those are really my two
Yeah.
favorite genres, other than like probably MMOs. There's a couple of map games that I like.
And the majority of people aren't worried about this in a
Mm.
sense. Like,
They don't think about it.
yeah, they don't think about it. They don't think about their shopping. They don't think about their video game habits. They just go, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, and
And
that's something that frustrates me is like I've become less and less susceptible to it. Like, don't get me wrong, I played um Call of Duty DMZ when it came out because it was gonna be a competitor to Tarkov. All right, I'll see what the competition's up to. I think it was at free to play or something like that. And it gave me the feel goods for a half hour, and then I was like, all right, isn't for me. Like it burnt out for me really quick.
mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't want to invest in games like that. And that's one thing. Like I miss game demos. I really miss game demos because game demos is like I remember playing the game demo for Army of Two, and I was like, oh, I gotta get this game. I played it over and over and over again, and until I was able to get the game, and then I was like, yep, this was a good purchase.
And that's where, and this is something that drives me crazy, is at least, and I hated this during COVID, but at least in fast fashion and shopping in general, like for the most part, you can try things on in the store,
Yep.
which is where it's getting frustrating that they are making a bigger push for online shopping.
You don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, you can't try it on. You don't know if you like the way it looks on you. You don't know if it even fits you right, or if you're gonna have to pay extra to get it tailored to fit.
Yep.
And if it's fast fashion, it's more expensive to have it tailored. And
Yeah. No, I definitely.
um, but it's like, and that's something that even like where I work at, it drives me crazy. People were just like, ask like, hey, do you want to try this on? They're just like, no, just get it. I'll return it if it doesn't fit. And I'm just like, guess what? You're not gonna make the trip back if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, or if they do, if you are making the trip back, well, guess what? You're gonna come back and something else is gonna catch your eye and you're gonna spend more money.
Yeah, and it's just this like endlessly repeating cycle of misery.
Yeah, no. And I
Yeah.
feel like
No.
that's like half of it of like why my company does like they'll offer more sales online
Mm.
to encourage people to shop online. And I think part of it is they get the money from them shopping online, but if they do return it, well, hey, now they're in the store.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's almost like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
They bait them in. They bait them into the store, hoping they'll buy something else while they return something. So you know what I mean.
Yeah. And it's all these just like mental games that they're playing.
And it's interesting, and like I said earlier, like I'm completely coped out on Star Citizen. I want to space MMOs so bad that I can just fly around and mine asteroids in.
Yeah.
But their business practice of like limited available ships, and then they try and push camos and things like that for or ship skins and stuff, and I'm just like, please stop,
Yeah.
please stop. I'm just like, one thing I need to do some research on. I put my notes in there, but because I went on my bike before we started. Um, is there any private equity involvement with CIG? Is there any? I don't think they're a publicly traded company, but I haven't checked recently because I think a lot of the primary issues, and I think this is in fast fashion, but also in the video game sector now, is now that these once great game development companies like Blizzard, they were acquired. The CEO at one point was knew nothing of video games and only cared about the bottom line and achieving the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Well, no, and that's the whole point of why fast fashion is the way it is okay, so let's go back to like 1950s where a fashion season literally followed the weather seasons and fashion was meant to be utilitarian.
And
And
that's always been my mindset of fashion though. Like I
yeah,
have things for winter, I have things for fall, summer, and spring.
so it is no longer a utilitarian mindset now. So like back then it was, new sweaters came out in the fall and winter, and there was like a lighter sweaters in the fall, thicker ones in the winter, because it's like, hey, someone might have had moths eat their sweater, so now they need to buy new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And but there was no new stuff coming in throughout the season. But it was like once you sold a sweater to that person, they weren't going to be coming back and buying another sweater.
Mm.
You had kind of made your money from that person for that season.
Right.
Now the whole mindset is every 2 weeks they want people coming in buying more stuff.
Mm.
And
Oh
so
my
it's
God, you just reminded. Continue. I'm gonna be fuming over here for a second.
I mean, to the point like where I say like I have customers that I see every week at my retail job. They'll come in and be like, "When are you getting new stuff in?" Like they want to shop. They intentionally want to shop the new collections that are coming out. And it's not that they need any of it. They can't even tell you what they're looking for.
They just it's this desire, this want. They
It's the
just want and they don't know what they
desire
want.
for something new.
Mm.
And you know, the companies are feeding off of that. And they're just like, well, if they want to buy it, we will give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the companies get to make more money off of that.
Right.
Instead of it being, well, okay, this person bought their sweaters for the winter, it's, well, we're going to release new sweaters every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So this person's going to come buy a new sweater every 2 weeks.
So the thing that made me mad is they just came out, I think at BlizzCon, they said for World of Warcraft, they're shortening expansion times, and I can't remember by how much, because expansions typically were 20 to 24 months. It was a good time frame. You pay $50-$60 for the new expansion, you get 2 years with it. Now granted, you're paying a subscription fee to play on the servers during this time, so you're still paying more money. But it's like, oh yeah, we're at the time I was like, oh, we're getting more content, there'll be less content droughts. That's a good thing. Like inherently that's a good thing. But now I'm like, wait a second, they're going to charge $70 per expansion that they're going to release every year. I've seen this model before. It's the Call of Duty model. So now I'm like, are we going to drop quality and charge $70 per expansion plus $15 a month to stay subscribed to the server? And I'm like, no, I am the big mad.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. There's so much that goes into it. And part of it is I can't blame the companies of, they have people willing to spend the money for them to make more money.
It's a very American mindset, I feel like.
Yeah, and part of me, I'm kind of interested to see how like other companies view this, or even if different gaming companies do different models within different companies. So like, do they do more subscription stuff in the US where we might be more geared to that mindset, but where like there are countries that have a more slow fashion mindset, so like do they have a different selling model in those countries?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think.
I'm gonna say
World
that
of Warcraft is probably the only game that has gotten away with a consistent $15 a month subscription for heading towards 20 years. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any other game that requires a subscription to play online other than like if you're paying for Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus.
Definitely if anyone's lived in other countries or in a different country than the US, like kind of answer my question down below in the comments because now I'm intrigued on if video games operate the same way in all the countries, or even just if fast fashion marketing is different, or if different companies take a different approach in different countries. Like even thinking like McDonald's,
Mm.
they have different business models.
Yeah, well, and they have different menus depending on the country as well.
Yeah.
And I know it was a big case in the EU. I've got to look up what the outcome of it was. Because originally I think the original intent back in the day was with like Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus, World of Warcraft was to have subscribers so you had consistent cash flow to the company.
Mm-hmm.
Logically makes sense under the guise of server maintenance, cost money to run servers.
Yeah.
Logical, understand, got it. But then they realized with mobile games, and fun fact that I need to fact check myself on so long as the numbers have not changed in 2 years, mobile gamers actually make up the majority of the gaming population.
I can see that because our phones are always with us.
Everybody's got a phone. And guess where microtransactions started? And I kind of want to go into this in my video essay if I ever decide to put it out. Is, big AAA studios are like, these guys are making millions of dollars off of simple transactions in video games. Only a couple dollars, but when your player base is 1 million, 2 million, 3 million strong, you charge each of them a dollar a month. Now we're talking some serious cash.
Well, and also too, it's very easy to be like, oh, it's $1 here, $1 there, oh, another $1 here, and before you know it, you've spent $50 as one person.
And thus the birth of the whale. I'll be completely honest with you. I've fallen for it before. You know, I bought premium time in War Thunder because the grind is really rough once you start getting up to those higher tiers. I've bought character boosts in World of Warcraft. I have an alt of every class. I'm working on the Horde side now, but I've come to enjoy the process of leveling more from a meditative standpoint. And that's another video essay I want to write that I've started writing is leveling in World of Warcraft is a chore now, not an experience. Like in Season of Discovery, getting to re-level in vanilla with the new runes and some of the new quests, it has been an experience, not a chore. And it has been enjoyable every step of the way. But leveling in Dragonflight felt like a chore. Leveling in BFA felt like a chore. I didn't play in Shadowlands. Pretty much leveling after Mista Pandaria felt like nothing but a chore, a task to be completed. Does that make sense?
No, that does, and I'm trying to like tie this together. Might come out weird, but it now makes me think of like shopping. Like now that I've become more mindful of like fast fashion and the harm that it does to communities and to the planet and even to people's pocketbooks, is shopping has become more of a chore for me because I'm like, there's stores that I say like I'm not allowed to shop here anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What chores are on your blacklist now?
I do not step foot into Forever 21 whatsoever. I have stepped foot in H&M to look at something, but I'm not purchased, and my goal is to not purchase anything from them. Those are kind of like the two big ones. I refuse to shop from Shein or Temu online. I would like to get to a point where I don't buy from Lulu's. But I do find, even though they're still fast fashion, I do find their quality for the price to be a little bit better. But I maybe buy from them once a year. And it's generally shopping for something specific, like a dress for my brother's wedding. that they're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, nothing in your closet matches the aesthetic. So
God, that's so frustrating. Hey, we need you to be in this wedding, and you're gonna wear something that we don't know what you're gonna wear, but you're gonna have to pay for it.
yeah. Um so yeah, it's just and it's hard because a lot of the people I associate myself with do not follow the same practices and mindsets around shopping that I do.
Mm.
So there are times like with weddings where I have to kind of bend my rules
Mm-hmm.
to make other people happy. Um, but I am trying to limit that. Um,
Yeah, limit the breaking of the rules. I get that.
but yeah, no, I've set hard and fast rules. I actually like look at materials now in clothing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
before I shop. So if it's like shirts for work or even just like kind of like going out of the house on the weekend shirts,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't say no synthetic fabrics because I do think they play a vital role when at a low percentage with
Mm-hmm.
natural fibers, but I do want at least 80% natural fibers for my clothing.
Okay.
Um, some are higher percentages. Like I hold a lot higher standards to just like my simple white t-shirts
Right.
because I love them.
Yeah.
Um, and there's things like doing like the shirt I'm wearing right now. It is don't remember the exact percentage, but I want to say it's roughly 95% silk and 5% spandex. But the 5% spandex allows me to be able to wash it in the washing machine.
Okay. Instead of having to do like a hand wash and hang.
Yeah. So there's things like that, I don't mind some synthetic because that actually gives it a little bit of stretch as well
Mm-hmm.
to actually help it be a little more durable.
Right.
Um, and not get damaged so easy if there's some like friction applied to it.
Mm.
So there is some place for synthetic fibers, but I do try to buy predominantly um, natural fiber clothing,
Right.
at least for shirts
Mm-hmm.
and sweaters. Pants are a lot more difficult. So I don't really look at material for pants, but I do look at the quality of the pant,
Mm. Okay.
which I really don't know the last time I bought because I
Yeah.
don't really need any right now. So
Yeah. I don't remember the last time. I don't know. This kind of like I don't know what I would quantify in the gaming space when I look at games like that. Because I do believe like AAA studios can produce good games. Like I believe they have the capacity to do that and not fill it full of microtransactions and you know, like I just it's so frustrating. Especially because I use World of Warcraft as like a good example. I still play World of Warcraft, still enjoy it. But it's like you log into the main game and it's look at all the shiny stuff in the shop. Go to the shop. Everything's like it kind of just directs you to the shop. And it's like why? It doesn't need to be this way.
no, it doesn't.
You know. It's just it's upsetting and I feel like a lot of decisions that are made by the accountants and not made by the developers themselves,
Oh, 100%.
or the CEO because I feel like that these people only view video because video games are a form of art. Ultimately, it's a form of art and it's a form of expression and storytelling and interacting with other humans. They only view them as a vehicle for which to extract profit and enrich shareholders, which is incredibly frustrating. And I feel like fashion has probably been that way for a long time, hasn't it?
And there are some newer like business models coming out um, as things change. There's different certifications that companies can get.
Mm,
There's like certified B corporations that have a
mm,
whole thing, and there has been some issues identified with B certifications, but also B certification, the organization that does it, is making strides to try to improve it.
mhm,
Because essentially, like different businesses that have a lot of money have been able to kind of infiltrate because they have the money to research and understand what they're looking for to basically kind of skew their data
mm.
to show them what they want to get the certification.
Okay.
One of the more popular ones associated with that has been like Nespresso.
I've heard a lot of bad things about Nespresso.
Yeah, I don't know if it's recently changed, but last I checked, they are a certified B corporation, even though all of their pods that get thrown in the trash pollute the environment.
Like, to me, that just feels like bribery.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's like they have enough money that they can research and implement the bare minimum.
Just enough to get by.
Yeah. And if you look at their rating, uh, like Nespresso's rating versus where it is, like they did like the bare minimum, but they have the money to kind of get themselves there. But there are other companies, so like my favorite shoe company, Poppy Barley,
Mm-hmm.
they have a higher rating,
Right.
but they don't have near the funding to game the system. So everything that they're doing to get that high of a rating really means more
Mm-hmm.
than what Nespresso has done, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I get what you're saying.
and I will say to keep your label now, they are making changes where you have to continue to make improvements.
It's not just like a one and done.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to continue to make improvements, and which also you have to continue. And something they had before this, you had to continue to get recertified like every 3 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like when they show up, it's like, okay, so you met the standard for recertification, but what have you done to improve?
Right. You can't just stay at that like
Yeah.
whatever passing grade percentile indefinitely. You have to, you know.
And there you can also, for people who want to be very stringent on it, is you can actually see their scores. They're public
Oh.
information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like don't quote me on the numbers. I want to say like the average score for businesses is like a 58.
Mm-hmm.
To get certified B, you have to get a score of 80.
Really.
And it goes up. I don't remember the max. I want to say the max is like 200 for the score.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you can actually go and see like Patagonia.
Mm-hmm.
You can see
What's their score?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it enough.
Because I love Patagonia, even though I'm too big for a lot of their stuff.
We're getting there.
We're getting there slowly but surely.
And I will say like I'm still learning and doing research, trying to be a more sustainable and mindful shopper. Obviously, no one can be perfect, but I do agree in trying your best. And so I'm always still kind of learning things, and even just kind of the score model. I probably like 2 weeks ago just learned some new things about it when I had.
Mm.
So that's kind of been like my goal for this year is to become more educated,
Mm-hmm.
and be more mindful about shopping, but also with that, to be a certified B corporation, some of the basic things are like, are you paying every people in the supply chain a living wage?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So they're looking at that. They're looking at environmental impact.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that raises the cost of the goods.
And that's my thing. I would be fine paying $150 for a game or for a jacket if like it was high quality, sustainable, and would last me indefinitely. You know, what is it? The not the bootstrap paradox. We're not talking time traveling, but the boot scenario, the work boot scenario. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and part of it too, and this can what make it so difficult as well, is in the fashion world, more money doesn't always equate to better quality.
Yeah, no, I 100% get that.
Um, I fell into that trap not for too long. I learned very quickly. Um, fell into some of the social media traps of like shopping from Aritzia. They're kind of a big name,
Mm-hmm.
at least in the female world. For and it was like I ordered a few things, and honestly, I hated everything I got.
Really?
Everything I got from them. It was all like polyester synthetic material. And this was before I really knew much about synthetic versus natural fibers.
Right.
I hadn't really thought about it at that point. I was just like, but I just wasn't pleased with the things I got. I bought a bodysuit that was very uncomfortable, didn't stretch like I thought it should. Um, bought a cardigan. Like it was really cute stuff. And I liked the way I looked in it, but it wasn't comfortable to wear. And honestly, like the cardigan I bought started falling apart pretty quickly, and it wasn't a cheap cardigan.
I hate that because there have been some things I bought specifically in boots that I bought and I paid too much for them, and they either rapidly fell apart or rapidly became uncomfortable because I wore through sections of them so fast,
Mm.
that it was just like, well, this was a waste of money.
Yeah, no. And there's been a YouTube creator. I wish I could remember her username. I give her a shout out, but I can't. But she actually does it where she'll go into like higher end brands
Hmm.
and basically be like, is it worth the money?
Well, that's like I see people they spend a massive portion of their paycheck to buy like one Louis Vuitton item or Supreme item, and it's just garbage.
Mm.
It's certified
Well, and
garbage.
designer is not what it used to be anymore.
Yeah, I can
Um,
get that. I'm a
and
big fan of Laura Piana. Pretty small brand. I've seen a lot of their stuff. It's like ultra expensive, but like their whole marketing schema is you don't own this item. You're just taking care of it for the next generation. And I'm like, I like that
yeah.
mindset.
Well, and that's part of the reason like I buy crazy, like for me, crazy expensive shoes. Now I don't buy $1,000 pairs of shoes.
Yeah, that's a little ludicrous.
Um, but like, like for me, it's a miracle if I spend less than $100 on a pair of shoes.
Oh, I 100% understand that in the context of boots.
Yeah.
You know, when you're standing all day, walking all over the place, carrying heavy loads, like foot care is just
So,
paramount.
and there's been some debate over this in the past few years. I have a very classic style, so I will go to my grave saying this. A black pair of flats is an essential part of a woman's wardrobe. Okay. Growing up, I never had a pair of flats that I liked. Loved the way they looked, but the second I put them on, they would tear up my feet.
Hmm.
I'm talking to the point that my feet would be bleeding. And I never understood why and why people just said you had to have these shoes. And then I bought a pair of black leather flats on clearance from Clark's for like $50.
Mm-hmm.
They never once put a blister on my.
That's like you know what that reminds me of? I have spent thousands of dollars on running shoes and insoles and getting fitted and going to Fleet Feet, and every time every different shoe had a different problem. My soleus was on fire. I was having issues in my knees, issues in my hips, or back pain, mid back pain. Granted, I'm not an amazing runner by any stretch of the imagination. And one day I had a set of Skechers wide. I can't remember the exact name of them. I've got them on my laptop somewhere. I got to order a new set because I about run these into the ground. Um, I forgot my like running shoes. I had at the time I think I had a set of Hokas or some Sauconys.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah. And I was like, screw it, I need to run. I'm gonna run in these. You want to talk about the most comfortable run I'd ever been on? But because I'm a filthy heathen and I wear flip flops year round and I grew up running around barefoot, so my feet grip the ground as I run. So like having a wide shoe with a soft, thinner sole that was zero drop felt like, almost like I was running barefoot.
So there's actually some research that it's healthier to run barefoot, other than
Right.
the fact of like puncturing your foot on something.
Yeah.
Um, I forget. There's like this like big race, maybe in South America every year, but like the people there like run in sandals.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I can't remember the name of it either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're like, they set incredible times across very difficult terrain.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten to a point that like particularly like my like dress business shoes that I wear to work, like I'm only gonna buy leather shoes from here on out. And I buy quality shoes. I spend the money on it because I'll wear them.
Well, there's a lot to be said for a leather shoe. In my opinion, I think there's a lot to be said.
But again, kind of going back to that fast fashion mindset of people just want to change constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, it's like I would much rather have like one black leather flat that I wear for 2-3 years, and that just be it. But like people is just like they want to change from like this belt buckle, or they want a bow on it now, or they want this or that, so they just buy like cheap $30 plastic shoes.
And that's kind of like how gaming is to a degree. Granted, you're not throwing the game away, and especially with gaming moving towards a more digital format, which to me is still frustrating because owning the physical game is nice. Nobody can ever take it away from you. But it's just frustrating of like you didn't even finish the game and now you're playing another. You know, and granted, I'm a variety guy. I bounce between a couple different games. But it's like I feel like if I don't average $1 an hour for the price of the game, like I paid $150 for my version of Tarkov, I have almost 3,000 hours played. So it's like got my money's worth. Now, granted, if you go in my Steam library, you'll find some games that I haven't put anywhere near that amount of time in. And I feel guilty if I paid $60 for the game, I want to get at least 60 hours of enjoyment out of the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
You know, so it's just difficult.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's actually a few like slow fashion content creators I watch, and they talk about that concept with clothing of like price per wear.
Yep.
And like trying to think some people will buy something, they'll buy something expensive with a goal of getting it down to like $1 per wear.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
And some people will even track it. There's even, don't know as much about it. There's some apps that's been coming out that like help you like catalog your
use a spreadsheet.
Well, so but more than that, so it's meant to be kind of like it's a lot of them are still in beta, but meant to be like the technology from Clueless, where you could like take a top, like it'd have like a picture of a top on your screen, and you could pair it up with like a skirt or a pair of pants, and you could see them together to plan out your outfit for the next day.
That's interesting.
But with that, like when you picked it out, okay, it would log it that like you're gonna wear it. But then when you like make the catalog, you can put the price of the item in there. So as you do it, it like calculates the price for wear for you as well.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Part of it is for me personally, I don't know if it's worth the time to get the app and go through the whole cataloging my wardrobe. But I also thought it would be kind of cool, you know, at night instead of like just watching YouTube, like the average person, you know, play through and like plan out my outfit and mix and match combos of like, oh, I like this top with these pants. What happens if I put this jacket or that jacket with it?
Okay.
And instead of just sitting there trying everything on.
Yeah, and like 90% of my clothing decisions purchases and wearing is completely dictated by weather and my confidence that day.
Yeah, I wish I was more like you when it came to shopping because
Mhm.
you're very much utilitarian about it. I'm trying to strike a balance because I do enjoy fashion. I
Mhm.
love fashion. I love um I read a book and I wish I could remember the name of it. But it helps you like explore your personal style. So I've gotten like a grasp of my personal style, which has been very useful
Mhm.
in avoiding fast fashion and avoiding temptation.
Mhm.
Um, but I enjoy exploring that, but also at the same time, like trying to be more mindful and conscious about what I bring in.
Right. Okay.
And it's difficult to have that balance because for me, like clothing and fashion is a hobby for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely. I mean, and that's how gaming is for me. It's a hobby, even though we play video games to make YouTube content. Um, it still is a hobby. It's a de-stressor, even though I play some of the most stressful games on the face of the planet. Um, it is a hobby ultimately.
And I guess I feel like you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I know for me, like, even though I love fashion and playing around with it, like, I can come across an outfit, love the outfit,
Mhm.
love it so much. I'll wear it, wash it, wear it again the next week. I'll wear it like every single week for like 2, 3 months straight.
Right. Is
But then I get tired of it and get bored of it. So then it's like, and that's where I feel like part of the drive of like wanting something new comes in.
that like a self-perception thing?
Might just be an ADHD thing, maybe.
The downside of superpowers.
But like, do you ever have that with like video games where you just love playing something and then just all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm done.
All the time. All the time. But yeah, I get it. I 100% get it. And that's where like a lot of gaming marketing strategies come in. You know what I mean? It's like I think there's good marketing and bad marketing. I hate that the like where you're just flooded constantly and it's like buy our game, or buy this like limited edition package with this one thing or that one thing in it. Mowgli's having a meltdown right now.
Oh, poor baby.
He's like, I can't see her. I can't see her. What's going on? Um, but yeah, I hate this. Like, buy this edition, buy that edition, and then ultimately there's gonna be more microtransactions on top of that, and with a lot of these games and a lot of these marketing strategies. But if you look at like Helldivers 2, for example, um, I think it's the best marketing strategy ever devised, and I'm not entirely sure that they planned or created it. Um, and they've effectively united the gaming community under one banner with the PlayStation and PC community, because that's the only two platforms it's out on right now is PlayStation and PC, to port the game to Xbox, because they want reinforcements. They're like, we need more players. Please give it to the Xbox players. We need help. So it's interesting to see the entire gaming community come together to petition a game development studio like, hey, please release your game onto this other platform that is a competitor to your other two platforms that you've released this on. Um,
Part of me, and I say this knowing that like marketing is an entire college degree
right.
and people spend a lot of money for their marketers. And so part of me is I wonder like if it was an intentional move and maybe it was just a happy fluke, but like I know, at least in the fashion world, none of their marketing is a fluke. It is all very intentional.
Is this the note you put, the mob wife aesthetic?
Um, no, not really. That was actually something higher up that I think we kind of skipped over. Um,
Because I heard that the mob wife aesthetic thing is actually like an entire pre-planned marketing move.
yeah. Um, so I mean, it really is. I mean, part of it is like the whole that's part of like how fast fashion does their pushes for things
Mhm.
is through influencers. Um, so like we had this whole clean girl aesthetic going on that was very kind of like simplistic, minimalistic style,
Mm-hmm.
thinking neutrals, beiges, whites, creams, um, very neutral makeup, very simple hairstyles, like a sleek ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is out. And you see people wearing like fur coats and black and red lipstick and doing like a complete 180 from what they were wearing a month ago.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you think that's to drive sales?
100% is to drive
It's
sales.
just to drive sales. That's
Yeah, and I mean you should see like if you look at the sales of like faux fur coats,
probably through the roof right now.
I wouldn't say they're through the roof. I will say people are becoming more mindful of it. I would have said if we had the same thing like 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
they would have been through the roof.
Okay.
But now it's like people are becoming more mindful. Like I said, like I'm not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but more people are at least trying to strike a balance.
They're becoming more cognizant of their purchases and their decisions. Yeah.
And then there are those who like they definitely make a living off of this, or there are those who want to make a living off of it, so they don't really care as much.
Yeah, they're just like generate content.
Yeah.
That's funny because like I imagine the CEO of whoever is selling these products is like sell more, sell more, sell more, which
Well,
is completely opposite of like Arrowhead Studios CEO who came out on his personal Twitter account and was like, "Hey guys, it's okay to not buy the game right now. The servers are completely overflowing and people can't get in. It's okay to wait to buy the game until we get more servers up."
but that's something like fast fashion, and that's I would say part of how companies market things. Let's say companies they want to push fur coat,
Okay.
they'll take like the top 5% of fashion influencers
Mhm.
and they'll gift them fur coats.
See, this is a strategy that gets used a lot in with I obviously I don't know because I'm not a giant creator on Twitch. I'm not a giant streamer, but I imagine a lot of Twitch streamers don't pay for their games and they get given them for free or they get given early access for free or beta access to stream it to drum up
Mhm.
marketing sales.
Yep. So like one of the slow fashion influencers who the app I was telling you about for she got beta access because she's able to like market.
Because she has such a wide audience,
Yeah.
basically. Okay.
Um so yeah, that's like a whole thing. That's a whole part of their marketing is, putting things out there for influencers to be like, hey, look at what I'm doing. Now we have these kids who want to be like those people being like, well, they're doing it, so I should do it.
Mm.
It's basically instead of like following the popular girl at school, you're following the influencer.
And see, that just gives rise to all of the problems. Every single one of them. I don't know all of them, but all of them. And that's
Well, and it takes away some people's autonomy a little bit and their ability to.
they can't make a decision for themselves, so they let an influencer make the decision
Mhm.
for them who is effectively owned by a corporate entity.
And also on top of that, there's research that has shown that the more you see something, the more you like it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely like that with music. Like I've been working my way through Dave Matthews Band and Sleep Token's new album. And at first, like, really loved the first 3 4 tracks, and then after that it kind of dropped off a little bit because the tempo changed. But
Mhm.
like I've listened to it over and over again, I'm like, no, I really like this is really good music.
And that is part of how like friends work too, is like they'll give this stuff and pay these influencers money to wear it. So now
Mm,
they're putting it in front. And it's like, well, you see all these influencers wearing these ginormous, obnoxious fur coats
right.
that you slowly start to like it and then want to buy one.
Well, do you think part of that is driven by social acceptability?
I think so, yeah.
Like pit vipers would not be socially acceptable if everybody and their mother was not wearing them at one point. Does
Mm-hmm.
that make sense? But now that everybody's wearing them, it's socially acceptable to wear them, so your brain is more apt to like it, I feel
Yeah.
like. You know?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yes. I just I just am frustrated with marketing strategies and the way things are pushed and the way things are developed and the way they're monetized. I understand everybody's got to make a living. It's just frustrating that art can't be art, but also there's only two things an artist wants. They want to be loved and they want to be paid. And I 100% understand that.
Um, it was the minimum mom on YouTube. She was a marketing major
Mm.
in college,
Mhm.
and she did an episode where she went through Target and like explained their entire marketing process. And anyone who is dating or married to a white woman knows the type of.
I think just women in general. And don't get me wrong, I love a Target. I love it.
But yeah, that's like crack to females.
No. Every time we go in there, it'll be a 5-minute trip. 30 minutes later.
Love you.
I love you too.
But she does a deep dive into like their marketing strategies and like explains all of it. There's a whole YouTube episode about it. Definitely go like check that out. It's really cool. And I will say like sometimes it's like boring to go through and watch that stuff, but educating yourself on it helps you be more like self-aware when you're falling for it. But it's like it's insane the amount of stuff that they went through, but it works and they make so much money, and that's why they do it.
I saw a TikTok from a guy. I think he has gone a little insane doing all of this research into the market and into what companies own what. And he has pictures of like aisles in Target, specifically of like shampoo. And he's like, everything highlighted in red is owned by the same parent company. Everything highlighted in yellow is owned by another parent company. And then those two at the bottom are independently owned products. It's the illusion of choice.
That is a big part of it, is the illusion of choice.
Yeah, because doesn't just lost it. He owns like Louis Vuitton, Victoria's Secret.
Oh,
You know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like it's the illusion. It doesn't matter where you shop. You're shopping at the same company. It's just a different front. And that's games have kind of been going that way with these mergers and these acquisitions. And it's like a lot of bad business practices that were practiced here. Well, now that company's ultra rich because people can't control themselves. And this company over here had ethical business practices, but wasn't able to maintain their growth and their trajectory, is now being acquired by bad company or not good company. And now those business practices are spreading like a disease.
And that's something I've noticed too. There's been a few like slow fashion companies that I've found probably about 2 years ago now, and I really like their stuff. But because their business model is not to encourage people to buy like crazy, they couldn't make enough sales to keep the lights on.
Yeah. And that sucks that like sustainability is not a financially maintainable system in the current economic world that we live in, and that's deeply upsetting to me for many reasons.
Well, and I do think it was one thing back, like in the 1950s when every like fashion model was following the model that these sustainable fashion companies are using.
Do you think that's like a post-war sentiment after the Second World War? Because they were using potato sacks to make dresses. So potato companies started printing pretty flowers on them because they knew it was being used to make dresses.
I definitely think so. I think it's a combination of things. And I'm gonna even talk about like the '08 crash here. If you think about, people went through some hard times where during that point people kind of in general didn't have a lot of money just to spend to buy more clothes because they wanted them.
Right. Yeah.
It had to be more because you needed clothes.
Right.
Um, Same thing like during World War II, it was like, okay, which then at least people had the ability to make clothes, but it was like you couldn't just go buy fabric or go buy a new dress. It was you like there had to be a reason for it.
Or you mended what you had.
Yeah, like there just wasn't the disposable income
Mm-hmm.
or the access to credit that there is today.
Oh yeah, the availability of credit. I've heard horror stories of people and playing like the gotcha games, and I've talked about them in the past. I think one really, really prominent example, I think, is Honkai Star Rail. War Thunder's one, and then a lot of the mobile games are like this. They're in tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt because they cannot control themselves.
And I do think there are people that fall into that with the fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But with that of like cheap clothes are so accessible that like where it used to be like the obviously not then money, but like today's money, a $30 t-shirt, everybody, no matter where you shopped at, had to spend $30 for a simple t-shirt.
Right. And I mean, it's even worse now. You know.
Um, but now it's like there is such a range of like fast fashion companies being like $5 t-shirts that it's like people who it's like if they're either not aware or don't care about all the side effects, they don't see the point of spending $30 on a shirt when they can buy one for $5.
Yeah, I get that.
But what they don't realize is that $5 shirt,
Is not going to last as long. It goes back to the work boot.
yeah, and it comes down to the
Yep.
price per wear. The
Mm-hmm.
$30 shirt is going to be have a cheaper price per wear in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But the company that's making the $30 shirt is struggling to stay afloat because not everyone sees the value or knows about the
Yeah.
value of their product.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that's driven by economics. You know, people. I believe there's a lot of people they can't afford the $30 shirt, but they're stuck in a trap and in this vicious cycle of I can only afford the $5 shirt. Economics start to get a little bit better for them, and then the shirt degrades. So now they got to buy another $5 shirt, and now it brings them back down. It's this repeat, and that's
And
across the board with everything: car parts, clothing, tools, home items, anything.
well, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say yes and no. And the reason I say that is I do believe there are people who fall into that trap. I do believe there are people who are smart enough that they know that they need to spend the money on the more expensive shirt.
Mm,
And I do believe with like internet education and the ability to read reviews, there are people who beforehand would have fell into that, but they're being smarter with their money and buying the more expensive thing up front because they know they can afford to keep buying $5 shirts.
right.
But also, if you watch like YouTube hauls,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, those people, obviously, it's not a matter of money because, okay, yeah, they bought a $5 shirt, but they bought 20 of them. Like, they
And to
very,
me, that's just ludicrous behavior.
but that's part of it is people just want so much. They want the choice and the options, and they just want a closet full of clothes. And I can't lie, I used to be that way. I used to want to buy a house and turn a bedroom into a closet.
Yeah, that's just wanton consumption for the sake of consumption. It's like the ideology of cancer, growth for the sake of growth. You know what I mean?
But it's one of those things of like, how do we? Because for me, it's like I I finally got educated,
Mm-hmm.
and I no longer want that.
Right.
But it's like, how do we get the education out there? Especially like for me, it's like I had to go looking for it and go down that YouTube deep dive. It was not just handed to me.
Right.
So it's like, how do we get people the education, especially if they're not willing to go after it themselves?
Mm, yeah.
And I think that that's a big problem we have.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah. Education. Being educated on these topics and trying to get people to get it. People just endlessly repeating loop, but maybe that's a conversation for the next podcast.
Maybe so.
You ready for some dinner?
I think so. It's been a long
Yeah,
day.
it's been a long day, and this is one of our longer podcasts, but thanks for coming. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the content. We love making it for you.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below, or comment down any video games you would like to see us play. We'll see you guys next time.
Enjoyed it. Peace.